Welcome into another edition of This Is Anfield Weekly. I'm Keith Costigan, joined again by Matt Ladson and Chris Williams. We're going to discuss the Arsenal win, the superb performance, linking in the Carabao Cup, leading into what we feel like should be the lineup once again against Arsenal in the next round. We're going to look at Champions League draw, which is also coming up this week, and then talk a little bit about the transfer window as well, coming to a close. I think we're going to be talking more about players on the move, leaving Liverpool, what players we expect to see leave over the coming 7 days. Guys, for me, we'll start with the Arsenal performance. I think, very early in the season, so quite easy to pick out the best performance of the season. But against an Arsenal side that were in form, Matt, I don't think Liverpool could have played much better than they did against the Gunners.
No, they were superb, right from the off. And Gary Neville said that it was the best half an hour of football by any team so far this season. All right, yeah, we're not far into the season, but it does show that Liverpool really hit the ground running. And after there was sort of initial concerns that we weren't that great after lockdown when the title was already won, as soon as it got into the competitive action, this squad has just clicked into gear and they look completely up for it. They look like that. I know that the word almost gets overused now, but that relentless machine, that pressing, the fitness, everything is there. There's nothing that you can say is missing at this moment in time in the way that we play. It was a superb performance, and it's just nice to get 3 wins out of the opening games and to sort of relax a little bit, because if we would have dropped some points here and there already, it might have been a little bit of question marks. But now it's like, look, here we are. It's our title. It's ours to win again. Come at us.
Chris, one of the best aspects for me was I was really critical of Joe Gomez towards the end of last season, even to start this season. Aubameyang, one of those players that you're like, wow, this is one of the top strikers in the league, can exploit it. For me, Joe Gomez was absolutely sensational at the back. One of many good performances. What else stood out for you?
Gomez especially, and I thought his positioning and his reading of the game was a lot better than we've seen for a while. And maybe touch on what Matt said there, the competitiveness is back. Liverpool haven't just won the league. It's not foot off the gas. I think all the players now look more suited. But yeah, Joe Gomez was really, really good for me, especially considering how he was the last couple of games. I enjoyed watching Naby Keita and Gini Wijnaldum together. I know Wijnaldum fluffed a couple of shots, but I thought together they pressed really well, which put a lot of pressure on Arsenal and forced them into a lot of mistakes. I think they did some good work, which maybe went unnoticed by a lot of people. But front to back, it was really good. I thought both fullbacks were excellent. The forward three were tremendous. And then, of course, something that Matt mentioned last week, I think you did as well, Keith, the drop-off from the front three has been quite big. But Klopp brings on Jota and he grabs a goal. So there's lots to look forward to. And I was a little worried that could Liverpool go on this season with the last 2 seasons they've had? Would they get a little bit of burnout? Would they be a little bit fatigued? But the start of the season says no to me. I know there's a long way to go. You don't win anything in September, but you can certainly lose something. But all the signs are there that we could be in for another good season.
Yeah, for me, Matt, I looked at Jota coming on, and we looked at Brewster at the start of the season, and a lot of fans, myself included, saying, I hope he gets a run. But perhaps isn't as much a fit in that front three in terms of his player profile as someone like Jota. It just looked like Mane comes off and he comes on and he presses how Klopp wants the front three to press. The energy levels were there, and he got himself into, he didn't just score a goal, he got himself into 3 or 4 really good scoring positions, and that bodes well for the future.
Yeah, it was great as well, because not only did he come on for like 10 minutes and could have got a hat-trick, but, his debut last week at Lincoln, there wasn't really anything for him. It was kind of like you didn't really think anything of him. You had no opinion of him after that game. So then to come in this kind of game where 2-1, it could have gone wrong, could have ended up them getting a goal on the break. But to get that goal, and that will be great for his confidence. And you mentioned Brewster there, but Brewster's obviously somebody that needs to play through the middle, and I don't think that that's where Klopp's ready to play him. I think Minamino is that sort of secondary option to Firmino, but Jota can come in on the left, which is, for me, a player that fits the system highly, highly more than Origi. And then the option for the other side, if Salah's out, you can always play Mane there, so you could. Jota is kind of like that backup to both Salah and Mane. And either way, it proves very effective. So, yeah, the goal early on is great for any forward, any player, isn't it, in terms of confidence. So, brilliant to see. Hopefully see him on Thursday now and, get a first start, which would be a nice progression for him.
Yeah, and Chris as well. I mean, not to pick out almost every single player. I thought as a team it was just a superb performance. But I think Robbo has started the season incredibly well. He gets his goal. But Trent, he missed those couple of weeks, didn't he, away where he wasn't with the team for pre-season. I thought you could see that in his early performances. But yesterday, he looked back on, and not just going forward as well. I thought defensively, he had a really good performance too. Fabinho in midfield, I thought dominated the midfield areas, defending in open spaces. I mean, it's hard to pick out a player that didn't play at a really, really high level yesterday.
It's almost impossible, I think. Everybody had a really good match. Even Robertson, when he makes that mistake, and it's a terrible mistake, he atones for it in the best possible way. I mean, that's the sort of fight and the sort of hunger any fan wants to see in any team. And for us to see that yesterday, his head could have gone down. That was a really poor goal to give away, but he rolled his sleeves up and got on with it. And that is the attitude that I think everybody and every Liverpool fan loves to see. I certainly loved it. He made up for his cock up almost instantly and went on from strength to strength, and that shows real good attitude. But yeah, Fabinho, I wrote yesterday, I don't know if Fabinho, the holding midfielder, is better than Fabinho, the centre-back. That's how good he is at the minute. So I think we're spoilt with him. And he's certainly a key element to Klopp's transition for this side over the last 12, 18 months. And yeah, we are now getting world-class players. And of course, Thiago didn't play and neither did Henderson. So we look in a good shape at the moment.
Yeah. And I think for me as well, just to start the season, there's a lot of talk about Gini and Alden. Well, we could let him go. I don't know whether it's Klopp sending a message, but he's played in every game. He's been almost a key piece in midfield in every game so far. I think Klopp has let him know how important he is to the manager. And I think he's shown again how important he is to the way Liverpool play. I thought he was excellent. But we'll have a look back at the linking game now, where we saw a very different 11. And it was an explosive game. I mean, just, every time Liverpool went forward, they looked like scoring. What did you guys make of that second group and their ability to look and put themselves in the window for Klopp to maybe use in Premier League games?
Look, I think only a week or two ago that we were being reminded how long it was. Was it 10 years since the Northampton game under Hodgson when we lost to them, and it was just the League Cup, when we played a second, like 11 in that, it was just the drop-off was embarrassing almost. Now, we've got an 11, a backup 11 that is A, very, very strong, and B, it's still got players not in it. So, you look at that team that started against Lincoln, and you had some injuries, and then you still didn't have even like Harvey Elliott, you didn't have Jota starting in that game. So it's not as though it's only that 11 players, it's even the depth beyond that. And in the League Cup last year, we had Kelleher starting the League Cup games. This year we've got Adrian. I know that was partially because Alisson was injured at that time in the corresponding season. But, Shimikas is coming in now. Milner did he start last week? I've lost track. But, to be able to have so many strong options keeps everybody on their toes. And it was interesting that actually Henderson came out this week and said, we're just like fans in that when new signings come in, it gives us all a boost as well. And it's nice to actually hear that from somebody within the dressing room that says it, because fans are sometimes painted as, they just want new signings, they want it to be new and that. And it's well, no, actually the players want that as well. It gives them the extra kick in training, and they can see this is exciting. We've got this Jota guy that's coming in and he's fantastic. Now there's a little bit more there. And when Mane gets subbed, maybe he was a little bit unhappy to be subbed, but that's because he's not realising that, hey, you know what, we're still going to be all right. He's normally thinking I come off and the team drops off. But now he'll be maybe a little bit more, all right, yeah, I understand. Even when I'm not on the pitch, the quality is going to be so high that we're still going to get a result. It's not that selfish about me and not playing. It's about wanting the team to still have the result that, everybody wants. So, yeah, it's really, really positive.
Chris, with the performance, for me, I thought Costas played quite well to come in and play at left back, but for me, the two standout performers were Minamino and Chris Jones. I don't know if I've ever seen a young midfielder at Liverpool be so confident in himself. He just exudes this class when he's in possession. You can tell that the belief is there for Curtis Jones. What did you see from them in that game, and what do you expect? I mean, obviously we're expecting both of those to be key pieces if Liverpool continue on in the Carabao Cup. It's a difficult draw facing Arsenal next.
I think Curtis Jones has got all the attributes to be a top-class player at Liverpool. I just hope he's got the patience. He certainly looks to have the patience at the moment, because in this season, I think he'll get his opportunity because the games are thick and fast. In fact, they are relentless. The games come in. Players will pick up injuries, little snags here and there. So I think he will get it. And I think if he takes his chance in the Premier League, like he's taken his chance in some of the cup competitions, we're going to be talking about him for a long time to come. I really hope he gets that opportunity this season. And Minamino's another one. I was a little disappointed that he only got 2 or 3 minutes against Arsenal. But in the League Cup, he did look very good. Maybe he's not 100% settled yet, a little like it took a while for Robertson and Fabinho to be fully thrown into a Premier League game. But, I mean, his performances at Salzburg always remind me of how good a player he can be. And it's an exciting time to be a Liverpool fan because that squad depth's getting better and we are going to need it this season. So it's very pleasing.
And we all had Shaqiri playing a free, deep-lying midfield role against Lincoln, right? I mean, he was absolutely everywhere. He was buzzing. I mean, I know people kind of look past Shaqiri, but there has been times when he has been available for me and he's given something. Obviously, the Man United game stands out, the final Mourinho game. But again, just another attacking option moving forward. With the game against Arsenal, Matt, I mean, what are your expectations for that lineup? Do you think it'll be maybe a couple of stronger pieces brought in because it's Arsenal, or more of the same with the young guns?
Yeah, so we've got a predicted lineup that's on the screen now, and ironically, it's almost a team that's pretty much on par with the Lincoln one last week, and maybe a little bit weaker because we might have Gomez start. It'll be interesting to see who does start centre back, but for the rest of the team, it's almost picks itself, and it's very strong. One thing that I would say about this team that we've sort of put up here that's projected is there's no Origi and there's no Elliott because those attacking options are so strong. Surely we're going to see Jota get his debut full debut from the start there. Minamino, picks himself, and then Shaqiri played that well last week that, all right, he could play in midfield again. But I think that then maybe with a Milner, Shaqiri and Jones midfield against Arsenal, you are leaving yourself a little exposed. So maybe Shaqiri deserves to start and therefore, play him in the attack. And what Chris just said there about Curtis Jones needing to be patient, I think that Harvey Elliott will, need to be patient as well in the same way, because if he, again, doesn't start in this kind of game, then, it's maybe a little bit frustrating for him. But, our options are plentiful as things stand. So, look, we won't lose any sleep if we don't win this game. But at the same time, it's a great opportunity for these guys to put themselves in Klopp's mind favour again, because we are going to need to use the whole squad as we move. And like Klopp said last night about not using the 5 subs, but he will need, if he could have, he would needed to have done that in November, December. So clearly the rotation is going to come further down the line. So it's great for fitness and form right now.
Yeah, Harvey Elliott for me was the one last week in that front group that really didn't click into gear. I don't think you could sense his disappointment when he was taken off. He knew he hadn't kind of grasped that situation, but again, still a really young player. Thursday, couple of things going on. Carabao Cup is one, but we have the Champions League draw, and this is the exciting time for me because I mean, how many years we went without being in the Champions League? We're back to almost taking it for granted again that we're in. Liverpool in pot 1, Chris. Pot 2 has some really big names in there. The likes of Barcelona, the likes of Borussia Dortmund, Ajax as well. I mean, what team do you hope Liverpool avoid? What team would you like to see them get in the draw?
Oh, there's a couple. I would like to see them avoid Shakhtar Donetsk because of the travel aspect. I think maybe out of that pot, they would be an easier, in inverted commas, team to play. It's just the travel that worries me, especially, as I say, with a condensed season. I would like Ajax because there might be a chance that I could go there. I love the city of Amsterdam. And the same with Dortmund, although I think Dortmund would be a team that Liverpool could gobble up at the moment. And with a few of their problems, I think Liverpool would be too strong for them. I think it would be a dangerous opposition. But Barcelona would be the one to avoid for me, because I think they would want some sort of retribution. Even though I think we're stronger than them, I just wouldn't fancy it.
Well, besides getting Chris to the red light district again, which I don't think anybody in Amsterdam wants to happen, Matt, for me, I look at it, the possibility, I think Atletico Madrid are in that pot too as well. For me, I can't stand playing against those kind of teams, because I think they have a game plan, they have a set plan to sit back, and it becomes really a chess match. So that would be the one I would want to avoid. I think I'm with Chris. Ajax it would be a good setup. Dortmund as well. Are you the same with Barcelona, avoiding them, or would you like the opportunity to go up against Koeman again?
To be honest with you, I don't think we've got anything to worry about with Barcelona. But what's most disappointing, I've got to say, is that you look at these ties, and 4 of them, if we get any of those 4, they would have been such glamour ties, like fantastic for fans to go to. Who doesn't want to go to either Dortmund, Madrid, Barcelona, or Ajax? It would have been a great trip for the fans and like a spectacle. So it really hits home that we're excited for the Champions League drawing away, but not the same as you would be normally. I saw somebody saying like it'll be absolutely typical the year that we can't go, we get Ajax, Lyon or somebody like that, and Mönchengladbach or something, because it'll be 3 games where it would have been great trips to go to. It's just the way it works. It's always going to be that way. But the Atletico one is, Chris says about Barcelona might want to get a little bit of revenge on us, but maybe it'd be the opportunity for us to get a bit of revenge on Atletico if we got them. So, that'd be interesting. I think that really the one that stands out is Ajax, regardless of the fact that fans won't be able to attend. It's a very winnable tie, but it's still a nice glamorous tie, and it avoids that travel that Chris rightly said to play against Donetsk. So that'd be a good one. Nothing to worry us either way.
Who do you see? I mean, looking bigger picture in the Champions League, I think Liverpool last year. I got really annoyed at the time because people would say, well, Simeone just a masterclass in tactics. No, it really wasn't. Liverpool completely dominated, had every chance they wanted, didn't kill the game off, and the Adrian mistake, you're out. I think Liverpool are there or thereabouts in the Champions League. Who are the other big contenders right now in European football? We normally look to La Liga, but for me, the Barças and the Real Madrid aren't where they were 3-4 years ago. So who do you look at in Europe as the teams that are right there in terms of the top end challenging in Champions League this year?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, with the Atletico game, it kind of got lost in the whole lockdown situation, and we forget how well we actually played in that game. And it's sort of a missed opportunity in that had we come back in after lockdown, I think that would have been us definitely reaching the final, and it might have been a massive opportunity to have won both in one season. However, I really can't see any reason why we can't do that now this season, because we're just so strong. We've talked about the strength and depth that we have, and I just can't see anybody getting near to us. Obviously, the team to watch are Bayern, but are they going to be any stronger this year? They've lost the man that was almost their man of the match in the semi-final and the final is now playing for us instead. So Bayern would be the main ones, longer going further into the, and it'd be a hell of a final, Liverpool against Bayern Munich in Istanbul. Just be nice if we could all be there for it.
Chris, I know you watch Bayern a lot. For me, obviously, they're the ones. I still think PSG, with the season they have, they don't have to be good at the start of the season. They have a little bit of a lighter load within the year. I think they have the firepower to put themselves in position. I guess you can't write off Barcelona because, even though we talk about the terrible year last year, they're still making it to the semi-finals. And, I think Koeman will make them better defensive. Is there any other kind of, team sleeper pick, I guess you could put it, that, you look at that could go all the way in Champions League?
There's plenty of teams who could go all the way, but I think in regards to who would be fearful of us, I don't think anybody really, apart from Bayern, I would say they're probably the only side who could match us toe for toe at the moment. Outside of that, it's whether Liverpool have an off day. I know we're going back to the traditional way, but we don't know what the future holds. If it goes to that one-legged finals approach again at the end of the current season, I think you could be fearful for anybody because it just takes one off day. But I think Liverpool are up there as favourites. I mean, there's the likes of some of the French sides, like you said, but PSG would be the main one because of the danger that they have in their squad. But on the whole, no, I think Liverpool are probably the second best team in Europe at the moment. And that is purely only because Bayern are the holders. I think if Liverpool went head to head with them at the moment, I think they could beat them.
Interesting. Neither you bring up Man City. We'll see how they progress because, you know, there is the transfer window this week and they've already spent, I don't know, 3.7 billion on defenders over the last 2 years. So I'd expect a few more players to come in. But let's look to that transfer window. It closes next week. For me, it's always a relief. I don't really like the, you know, every day, the constant, you know, and people not getting wise to the tricks. Hey, did you see what Mundo Deportivo reported? Come on, it's Mundo Deportivo, for God's sake. I think we're probably in agreement. You guys can correct me if not, that Liverpool are done with incomings. But outgoings, there seems to be a couple of players on the way out. What do you guys see? Matt, I'll start with you. What players do you think will definitely go, and what players do you think should go in this window?
Well, obviously Brewster looks almost certain to leave. The only question there is which of the two clubs that he's currently, you know, being strongly linked with, Sheffield United or Crystal Palace, and whether it ends up being a permanent move or a loan move. You know, maybe the longer that gets dragged out closer to the deadline, it ends up being a loan move, which doesn't seem like that's what any party that's involved wants. You know, it seems as though Brewster probably wants to go somewhere that he knows he's got at least a few years there. And Liverpool maybe protect themselves with a buyback clause. You know, on Brewster, I personally think that Sheffield United is a much better fit for him than Crystal Palace. I kind of don't really understand the Crystal Palace link because, you know, they've got Batshuayi, they've got Ayew, who was okay for them last year, Zaha. You know, I don't really know where Brewster fits in. Whereas at Sheffield United, you've got these like 10 strikers who don't score goals. You know, at the time of speaking, they've played 3 and not scored a single goal between them. Brewster's going to go there playing within a system that's not too dissimilar to Liverpool's in terms of the pressing. Plays the main man through the middle, and you know he's going to guarantee them at least 10 goals this season. So I'd love to see Brewster go to a club like that. The only other major one is obviously Harry Wilson, and it was kind of a surprise that, you know, he was on the bench even last week. You know, I was at Lincoln and he was walking on the pad of the pitch and he went, "It's Harry Wilson," like, you know, and they've all got masks on, so it's even harder to be completely sure which one's which. But you know, it seemed almost like a few hours earlier it was, oh yeah, he's on his way to Burnley, and then he was actually on the bench for us. So you know, he's a player that he needs to get a permanent move and move, and that would be a good fit, I think, for him.
Chris, Harry Wilson with Burnley. I'm guessing the whole Burnley incomings, outcomings at that club depends on Tarkowski and whether he goes to Leicester and whether they have the money to spend. But anybody else beside Wilson and Brewster, I mean, weigh in on Brewster as well in terms of where you feel like he might be best served to end up.
Yeah, really agree with just what Matt says there. It just needs to find the right club, and I think Sheffield United would be that for him. The only other player who I'm surprised hasn't moved so far is Divock Origi, and especially with Jota coming on and performing so well, I think he's dropped down the pecking order even more, and I think maybe that's not the best thing for him because he could probably do a very good job for a side maybe 7th and below or abroad, for instance, in one of the other top leagues. I think he could do a job there. And I did think Shaqiri would leave, but he sort of played himself back in with that role at Lincoln. I know it's that only one game, but he looks far better than he did the back end of last season when we saw him. So yeah, it would be strange to see that many people go because we've just talked about how good our squad is in depth, but I think there's room there for a few players on the absolute fringe to move on.
On the incomings, if you had to push, if you had to say Liverpool can get one more in, I mean, is it that centre-back area that you'd like to see Liverpool to strengthen, or is there somewhere else that you think Liverpool need to add?
I don't think we need anything, do we? Obviously, I think if there was a versatile centre-back that could come in that was quite young and was sort of a reasonable price and was happy to know that he was sort of 4th or even 5th choice, because Fabinho really effectively is that third or fourth choice, it'd be great. But I don't think that we have any interest really in bringing anybody else in. And I don't think we really need to. I don't think we need to worry about that as a club at the moment. Just going back to what you say about Origi, I wonder if we've sort of priced him and a couple of others really out of a move. You know, he was linked with Aston Villa at one point, and then they've ended up signing Traore, you know, and there's a few like that. And I mean, Marco Grujic, he was kind of effective in a very simple way against Lincoln. And maybe if he was to start against Arsenal and to sort of show his worth against a higher quality of midfield opposition, then somebody might come in for him. You know, it'd be a shame for him not to be playing football. So he's another one that I feel like needs to go, and probably now it needs to be a permanent deal. But in terms of incomings, like, we've got nothing to worry about, have we?
Yeah, Grujic is a great point. Chris, you've covered him in the Bundesliga as well. I think he would be a perfect fit for someone like a Sheffield United or even a Villa in terms of what he can do in midfield. And at that price, when you consider the premium for some of the English players, I think he'd be quite a steal for somebody if they could sign him.
Yeah, Marco Grujic, it is a real shame for him because the Liverpool he joined isn't the Liverpool that he's come back into. It's a markedly different side. And I think when he comes in originally, he's probably got some sort of place to play for. Now I don't think he has. And you're quite right, having seen him at Hertha Berlin for the past couple of seasons, he deserves to be playing week in, week out. I'm a little bit disappointed, I suppose, from a Liverpool aspect that Hertha only wanted to loan him again. I think that's a little bit cheeky when a player's played for you 54 times that you want to try and loan him for the third season on the run.
Let me get one more look at him, yeah.
Obviously, Gladbach were interested at one point. I just think that the finances in Germany around the coronavirus pandemic has really hampered their pursuit of certain players. And I think Marco Grujic is an unfortunate casualty of that, but he certainly deserves to be playing week in, week out. I just, unfortunately for him, don't think he's good enough to do it at Liverpool.
Well, let's wrap up the whole conversation today. It's Carabao Cup against Arsenal. I want you guys' prediction on the score, and I also want a prediction on who Liverpool get from that pot 2 in Champions League. Matt, I'll start with you. Go on.
I think that this could be a wild game. I really do, because I think that our defence will be, you know, without any doubt, the weakest part of the team. So, and it was noticeable against Lincoln where when Van Dijk went off, you know, we were not as organised, not just as a defensive unit, but as a whole team. And, you know, you could hear Van Dijk in that first half, and in the second half, you could hear nobody. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet. You know, even Lincoln scored 2 against that defence, sort of similarly. So, I'm going to go with 4-3 Liverpool. And on the Champions League one, let's say it's more than likely going to happen that there's a narrative involved, because that just seems to always be the way. So I'll go with Barcelona.
Chris, what do you got? I'm thinking around 5-5 as well with Liverpool Arsenal. It's going to be nuts. I'll go 4-3 Liverpool. A late Cometio winner from a corner. And then I'm going to go, I'm the same with you. It always seems to be us. There's a storyline in there. We've made the group stages as difficult as we possibly can over the last few years in the Champions League. I'm gonna say we're gonna get Atleti, and just to completely disappoint my week. But yeah, I think we go through in the Carabao and we get Atleti. Chris, what you got?
Well, I thought we'd beat Arsenal 3-1 in the league game, and that happened. So yeah, I think I also think it's going to be a high-scoring game like last season. So yeah, 5-4 maybe. It could be a crazy night. And I'm going to stick with the narrative, but I think it's about time Jurgen Klopp went back to Borussia Dortmund and showed them what they're missing.
That would be an interesting one. I mean, we saw what happened in Europa League a couple of years ago, so that would be a good one. But, fans, thanks for joining us, watching in. Make sure, tweet any questions you have at This Is Anfield, at Matt, at myself, or Chris. We'll check back in after the Champions League draw, after the linking game, and see how that goes. But share your comments, and I hope you enjoyed the video.